on that note, I'll pass over to Reg Watson, who I know has prepared an update on the activities in Tasmania, and also to make a few comments about his book.
Well, greetings everyone from Tasmania. Thank you, Jai, for that introduction. I will give a report on the Tasmanian update, and as Jai said, just a brief account on the book that I'm proposing to write, well, am writing at the moment. It's been a quiet year on the matter of republicanism in Tasmania. Indeed, I would have to state there hasn't really been any challenge of any consequence. This does not mean, of course, we can relax and fall into the belief that all is well. We know that plotting and planning still occurs, and we must forever be on our guard, ready to respond to any threat to our system of constitutional monarchy. A very good reception was held at Parliament House in Hobart, April the 21st, through the agency of the Honourable Guy Barnett, MHA, to honour Her Majesty's 90th birthday. I was able to be interviewed by the ABC radio at the time, and it was well attended, with Guy, myself, and others addressing the reception, including 2 Hutchins boys. Our Republican Liberal Premier, Will Hodgman, did attend as a guest, whilst no Labor Party members did so. Very rude, I thought, having no respect or manners towards our monarch. Incidentally, Will's late father, Michael Hodgman, was patron of the ACM in Tasmania. In June, ACM Tasmania, as part of the Council of United Commonwealth Societies, of which I am currently chairman, held our annual Queen's Birthday luncheon, being attended by the Governor of Tasmania, Professor Kate Warner, and her husband Richard Warner, the Governor, being patron of that council. Attendances were up this year, which was encouraging, and Her Excellency gave a quite witty address. David has mentioned that she's in a bit of hot water at the moment. The Premier of Tasmania, Will Hodgman, spoke to her, Will being a Republican, of course, and said, yes, I have spoken to her, but she's quite entitled to her views, which she's not in that role. In September, as I am President of the Australian National Flag Association Tasmania, together with ACM supporters, we held our National Flag Day luncheon at Parliament House on September the 2nd, a day before the actual birthday of National Flag, September 3rd. Again, numbers were up, and our guest speaker was the new Senator for Tasmania, Jonathan Duniam. Our patron, the Honourable Elise Archer, Madam Speaker of the House, gave the loyal toast. A letter of loyalty was dispatched to Buckingham Palace from all those who attended the luncheon. On Australia Day 26, January 2017, we'll be having our annual Australia Day barbecue at a leading park in Hobart. It is usually well attended. Earlier this year on the day, I had television interviews with Win TV News and Southern Cross News on the continued relevance of Australia Day. We know that Australia Day, of course, and even Anzac Day, 2 nationalistic and may offend some, are coming increasingly under attack by those who hate anything to do with traditional Australia. You are aware, of course, that some years ago, the then Prime Minister John Howard passed legislation through the Australian Parliament making it binding that the Australian national flag could not be changed except by a national referendum. This was a superb move, preventing self-interested but small groups and individuals to support their will upon the majority of people. You'll be interested to learn that the ANFA in Tasmania is working with a parliamentarian in Hobart at the moment to ensure that the Tasmanian state flag cannot be changed except by the will of the people through a statewide referendum. This again will prevent self-interested and, may I add, self-righteous people who demand on behalf of themselves to change to Tasmania's most beautiful state flag. Some years ago, our Bruce Goodluck, who are leaving federal parliament, sat in the lower house of the Tasmanian Parliament and was successful to pass a motion with whom I worked through the lower house, but it was never taken up by the upper house. Now we will try again. Sadly, our friend and life member of the Australian National Flag Association, Tas, Bruce Goodluck died a week ago in Tasmania. His funeral is today, so sadly I can't be attending. I was, however, disappointed that despite the effort of Tasmanian parliamentarian Guy Barnett, supported by myself, to make the burning of the Australian national flag a crime, was not supported by Mr Howard, Prime Minister at the time. The 1999 referendum on the Republic issue showed that 2/3 of Australians preferred keeping the existing model, with my own state of Tasmania voting to remain so, the highest in the nation outside Queensland. And I would suggest if a similar referendum was held today, the results would be pretty much the same. It is strange to me because I ask, where are the people's representation on this issue from our politicians? When you have a Prime Minister, a Leader of the Opposition, and, I may stand corrected, all Premiers of Australian states and all state opposition leaders, Republicans, I assert they are simply out of step with the will of the people on this issue. It is disturbing that our political leaders do not represent us at all, and I must confess I find this not only disturbing but confounding. This lack of political representation of the electorate has become a concern on various matters around the Western world. So 2017, well, who knows? I can only say this, whatever the challenges, they will be met. It is so gratifying that our system of government, enshrined in our national constitution, so the people may say whether to change it or not, a marvellous safeguard to those who want to change Australia as they think it should be, which, of course, is not necessary in the interests of the people. There was a book published once, Freedom Wears a Crown. Our freedom is under a lot of stress and threats at the moment, with Australia particularly because of political correctness, which I term political censorship, and various government agencies implemented by legislation which has been passed by our own governments, who are now persecuting and prosecuting citizens with whom they disagree. Our forefathers were wise enough to establish checks and balances, but these too are under constant threats. We must hit back on every occasion and hit hard. We must be there to win, not just to defend, but to go on to the offensive. Finally, as Jay mentioned, I like to add, as Tasmanian historian and author, of a book I am writing. Hopefully you'll find this interesting. As I visit regularly one of my daughters who lives at Parramatta, I decided to write a book called Parramatta, New South Wales, and Tasmanian Historical Connections, of which there are many. Such people as John Batman, who was born in Parramatta and lived in Tasmania, Frederick Gow Packer, a wonderful but now forgotten Tasmanian composer, who was buried at Parramatta. Incidentally, Packer, great uncle of the well-known Packer, composed the Tasmanian anthem, which we regularly play at the annual Boer War Commemorative Day in Hobart, of which I am organiser. Other characters, but by no means least, are Governor Lachlan Macquarie, James Kelly, and that controversial Reverend Samuel Marsden. I hope to launch this book next year in Parramatta, and I've had dialogue with the Parramatta City Council on this, besides having been successful and having the president of the Parramatta Historical Society to write one of the two forewords. It is an interesting project and on a subject which has not been tackled before. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen.